Welcome to Radiant in Real Life. I'm your host, Beth Medley, and we are a community of women focused on becoming radiant in life, leadership, and the pursuit of Jesus. I'm so excited you're here. Organizational values. That's what we're talking about today. I'm so excited to talk to you about this. Actually, I'm super passionate about it. Rarely do I have a coaching client come through that we don't end up working on their organizational values, whether it's for their business or their nonprofit or their ministry. We've got to have them. We've got to have them. It's one of the most important things that I do with people. So if you have not listened to my episode on high values and core or functional values, please go do that first, because it will give you some context for what we're going to talk about here. Because really we need to understand our personal values first before we really start talking about our core values for our organization. And we'll talk a little bit later about how that's going to, those two kind of interplay. So go do that and come on back. So I'm glad you're back. Okay, so our organizational values really line out who we are and what we do. It says, this is how we do things. It's going to set the tone and culture for your business. So we want them to be functional. We want them to be true to who you really are and how you really do things. This is not going to be aspirational. This is not what we hope to become. These are not goals. Okay. This is who you actually are and how you actually function as an organization. So it's easier to start this at the beginning, but so very many businesses don't. And so then you're just kind of rolling along, and it turns into this snowball that's just rolling down the hill and then getting out of control. And you don't know why there's so much chaos in your company, because you don't have a set culture and a set values. You don't have a set way that you do things around here. So the idea of organizational values is that they really act as a guide for you. And they act as a guide for really all of the things that you're doing. It's not just allocated to one thing. It is literally everything. So we could talk about a little bit of a case study. I have a client who it was relatively new in her business, but it was growing really fast. She kept having to add on team members because she just was getting work so quickly. And she actually had a client that was very misaligned with her, and she was struggling with this client a lot, and not just in the communicate, in many ways, in the communication with the clients and the expectations that they had and the expectations that she had, and even just in their values of the way that they ran their business. It kind of bumped up with the values that she had, but she hadn't aligned or laid out core values for her business yet. And so it was this one of those things where we're we need to do this continually. And finally we were sat down to actually have this conversation. So the idea behind core values too is that these are going to be things, they should always have stories attached to them. I have a dear mentor that has been teaching me all that he's learned about these things as well. And but the thing about core values is they need to have stories attached to them, and they need to have emotion attached to them. So in our last episode, we talked about how oftentimes organizations choose these very vague words and they put them up on the wall that's actually going to do something. But when you have a real story and a real emotion tied with this value being crossed, then it becomes very real to you and to everybody around you. So your core values are going to act like a homing beacon to everybody that resonates with that. For your clients, for your talent that you're hiring, you want to be able to attract people that align with you. So my client, who is really struggling with this client of hers, after she was able to lay out all of her core values, she could see that actually almost every single one of her core values was violated by this person. It was so eye-opening to her. And she was this is why I'm so exhausted by this person. I am so exhausted by this client. I would rather have 5 other clients than this one, right? So then we're able to kind of navigate, how do you fire a client? Because sometimes we need to do that, y'all. Like, you don't need to be desperate. Your clients are not your providers, God is. So even though they might be sending you money, it's not really coming from them. And if they are misaligned, it is not going to be a beautiful walk in the park, okay? Like, we don't have to work for just anybody. God will send you the people that you are designed to work with. So that's part of the reasons why we want to make sure we have these values. You're going to use them in your job postings. You're going to use them when you do employee reviews. If there's a disciplinary issue, something that comes up that needs to be addressed, you're going to use your core values. Like, if there's somebody that needs to be fired, you're going to use your core values. I guarantee you are firing somebody, not even necessarily for the work that they do, but because they are misaligned with something that you hold dear to your heart. Almost always, people are fired based on character or something that misaligns value-wise. So the last thing I want to talk to you about with this really is the importance of authenticity. Super important. Okay, since we're all believers here, I'm just get really honest with you. Okay, so I bet you if I asked you if you ever knew a Christian business owner that kind of made your skin crawl a little bit for the hypocrisy that you have experienced with them, I bet you can think of somebody. There's probably someone in your mind right now, or maybe a couple people, because we're just going to be really honest. Like, we are Jesus lovers here, and we got to be honest about the stuff that we deal with. And this is true outside of the church too, but that doesn't bother me as much as inside of the church, because if we are claiming the name of Jesus and we have Bible studies in our break rooms, and yet we are treating people poorly, or we are lying to them, or we're talking behind their back, these things don't align with kingdom values. So as a believer, your core values should also align with kingdom values. And if they don't, if functionally they don't, there is something to be done. Like, growth needs to happen in you as a leader, and that's okay. Like, I'm not shaming you. Have I ever needed to grow as a leader? Yes. Have I ever needed to grow as a person? Yes. I needed to learn boundaries. I needed to learn to love myself so I wouldn't crap on other people to make myself feel better. Like, how many times have we done these things? So, like, first of all, hear my heart. We're not shaming anybody. We're just saying that this is the truth of where we find ourselves, okay? So authenticity, when it comes to organizational values, your organizational values that for your organization that you lead needs to align with your personal values. They need to align. If you have organizational values that you can live in your organization, but that you don't live outside of your organization, at home or at church or with your friends, then there's a major problem, and there's going to be a big disconnect, because people won't see you as being authentic. They won't be able to follow that. They won't be able to align themselves with those values because you don't even align yourself with those values. So you're going to have a high turnover rate. You're going to have drama in your business. And to be honest, if we're not emotionally well, and part of being emotionally well and being spiritually well is living an authentic life. It is something we are called to as believers. So if we are not living an authentic life, and you're not emotionally well and you're not spiritually well, then you could potentially be addicted to maybe some toxic emotional cycles. And I'm saying that because it was me. It was me. I grew up in a toxic home in a lot of ways, and in a wonderful home in a lot of ways. But I learned some really bad coping mechanisms, and I learned some really poor behavior. I had no idea that the silent treatment was manipulative. I had no idea. I thought that that's just what you did when someone was upset with you. And that's how, like, when you're upset with someone, that's how I let them know that I'm upset with them, right? If silent treatment is happening in your business, I'm going to tell you now that's toxic. Like, we've got to stop that stuff. So if you are looking to grow and you are looking to become emotionally well, whether you are the leader or you just happen to be in a business like that, you need support. and you need people speaking truth into your life. And so I want to invite you into community. Like, I am passionate about creating safe spaces for people to grow. So let's have a real conversation about what's going on. Like, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM if you're like, this is me, this is what I'm struggling with. I want to be able to point you in the right direction, to give you resources, or even invite you into our community. I have a course about living an emotionally well life, a spiritually well life. And we have just a group of women that are pursuing this together, that are pursuing Jesus and pursuing wellness and pursuing healthy leadership, because we need more of that from women in the world, and we need more of that from Kingdom women so desperately. We need to love people in the name of Jesus. So if that's you, get in touch. And I'm just so thankful for you being here. If you listened to this episode and you decided that you need some help maybe setting some core values up for your organization, I want you to go ahead and shoot me an email, beth@radiantirl.com. And this is definitely in my wheelhouse. I want to be able to set you up for success. Thank you for listening to our episode today. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. So I have one last question before you go. How are you going to radiate this week? In life, in leadership, or in your pursuit of Jesus?